It is 6 p.m. and calling legislative budget hearing night 3 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Lokshin, Pugh, Rodriguez,
Here.
Rogers,
Present.
Sexton, Sollard,
Here.
Thorslin,
Here.
Vantage Theranot, Votava,
Here.
Wiggs, Wilson,
Here.
Cagle, Carter, Coert, Crane, Esri,
Here.
Barney,
Here.
Fava, Fortato, Greer, Hanover Friedman,
Here.
Locke.
Here. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Mr. Farney, second by Mr. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. The agenda has been approved. I have no slips for public input. Everybody here appears to be an invited guest. Going once, going twice. No public input tonight. We'll begin our budget presentations. Travis, do you have anything you want to let us know beforehand?
No, I'll just introduce John Kelly from ROE. He'll be the first presentation. And I guess I do have one thing on this slide. The FY26 budget expenditure total has been corrected in Munis, our budgeting software, and will be updated in the September packet. But that total should be 259,856, and that's the FY26 expenditure cell. And now I'll hand it over to John.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invite tonight. John Kelly, Regional Superintendent of Schools for Champaign and Ford County. Just been invited to give a brief overview of what our office does. In my first year as regional superintendent, taking over for Gary Lewis, who retired in March. So I've been with the ROE for about a year now. I was up in Fisher Schools for the previous 20. So at the ROE, obviously learned a lot over the last year about what our office does and how we support our school districts, our 16 school districts in both Champaign County and Ford County. We support our districts basically with professional development. We have a professional development office. We do bus driver trainings. We have an attendance improvement program. Our READY program continues, which is our regional safe school, an outstanding service for our districts and our students that need that. We finished with about 130, 140 students last year. We have 70 to 75 starting the year now, so we expect that enrollment will get closer to the 130, 140 again this year. We also help our districts with the Learning Technology Center is a statewide program that we house in our office. We have the IESE, which is an special education department. We also have an ag department in our that's a statewide program. And then again, the professional development is a big one that we do for our districts. We also do health, life, safety visits. I do those, and we also help our schools with compliance to make sure they're doing everything that ISB asks them to do. So that's on our end as well. I just want to thank you guys for the continued support from the county boards to allow our office to do the great work, the continued great work that we've been doing. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kelly? All right. Well, thank you for coming and keeping us informed, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Next up is Extension Education.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ginger Bass, County Extension Director for Champaign, Ford, Iroquois, and Vermilion counties. Thank you for having me tonight. Essentially, our budget ask is pretty flat, so we're looking at, as you can see, the about 459,800. Really, the biggest part of our budget problem or issue this year is the SNAP education program that was cut by Congress. That's about a third of our budget, and we're losing 12 FTEs. So that's a large hit. 10 of those come from Champaign County. I don't want to make light of it because the seriousness of it is that this program reached really our most vulnerable population. And so we are very concerned about how we're going to reach that population. The other thing is of those 10 FTEs, 7 of those were entry-level positions from the community teaching to essentially to peers with an opportunity to advance their career. So we are looking forward. However, we want to try to, we've been partnering with others. We still have some Feeding Illinois initiatives. We're working with the health department to look at other grant initiatives. However, I mean, $800,000 is a lot to make up. So that's something that those services can't happen. I mean, it's going to end, and it's going to sunset in February. It looks like we have funding until about February. But we're looking for other, I think opportunities open when a door closes. So we are definitely looking at trying some other things. Other things that we're looking at, especially are, we see a need for senior congregate feeding sites here. And so that was a grant that we've been looking at with the health department. So I think there are some coalitions that we will be connecting with to maybe bring some services to the county. Of course, our educational reach is large. We provide about 15,000 hours worth of volunteer time to the community with our Master Gardeners and Master Naturalists program. We also have the 4-H and youth development program and the big initiatives there are college and career readiness. We're looking at providing continuing education for teachers, and also stackable credentials for youth. So that is besides what you would see as the traditional 4-H program, we are definitely doing other things. So again, thank you for supporting us over the years. This is, like I said, my 15th time to come. So definitely appreciate the support that we get from Champaign County. So
Do you have any questions? Mr. Thorsland?
Yeah, I want to go back to the SNAP thing.
Yes.
And the cut, and you just helped me because you said you've been here 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So for the 14 years that you were getting the SNAP funding, what terrible, horrible things did you do that it got cut? And what was the explanation, if any, that you got when they cut the funding?
They said that the program was redundant. And so this was, I think it had the word SNAP in it. Probably shouldn't say that out loud, but I mean, I'm not sure because this program is nationwide.
Yeah.
Almost every university provides a house for the SNAP Ed program. There are other places, but generally they come from the university.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, I mean, I have, there's nothing terrible. I can't think of anything.
Right.
I think it's one of those that just went boom.
Yeah.
Reprisal. I mean, I think.
I said it last night, and we're going to hear it again, I'm sure, tonight. We're going to hear these things that were just arbitrarily stopped for no other reason than that they pissed off the wrong people.
Exactly.
And now we've 10 people out of work.
Exactly.
We've got, what was the SNAP program doing? Was it some of the before school breakfast? Was it?
We provided education to help with that. We provided direct education to schools, to seniors, to people in public housing. We did gardening programs to help people grow their own food, to be able to afford fresh fruits and vegetables. I mean, I don't think you've heard anything that sounds terrible.
No, I haven't. And I mean, I think that's my point. And I think,
Right.
you know, we have 10 people out of work. We have a lot of things that are not happening now for no apparent reason except somebody didn't like it.
Right.
And
At the federal level, and it,
really make it clear, it's because I'm a flaming liberal Democrat, that I didn't vote for that. I think a lot of people in this room didn't vote for that. And those who did vote for it maybe didn't know what was going to happen, but we tried to warn you and it did. And I feel very bad for you. And you've got this experience, big base of years that you've seen it. And then
I didn't
I
see this one
appreciate that.
coming.
Well, yeah,
I mean, this particular,
yeah.
I
because
really
it
thought it-
seems so innocuous.
Exactly.
And it's such a small amount of money in the overall
Exactly, in the
scheme of
grand
things.
scheme
I
of
mean, it's
things,
really in the noise in the federal budget. They're spending that much to have National Guard people pick up garbage today, probably in Washington, D.C. So, you know, elections unfortunately have consequences, and we didn't have a very great one, this recent one. But the whole county, and we talked about this, I think, we're going to see this ripple impact in this county. We're starting to see it. We're going to continue to see it. It's not good. It's not just. It's not sensible in any way. And I appreciate that you're going to try to find another way. But, you know, let's multiply that by all of the things that got cut that are all looking for a different way.
exactly.
And we're going to get this kind of wave that comes with a big valley after it. You know, the water comes in, then it goes out, it goes way out. And I think we're going to really start to see this in a year or two. And I think Travis is going to be here in a year or two telling us how, you know, we're really doomed. And it's not going to be his fault or your fault or anybody. So I appreciate you coming tonight. I feel terrible that this is something you have to work with. And I appreciate anything you can do to try to patch a hole on a big crater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hanower Friedman, then Ms. Furtado.
There we go. Can you explain how the state funding works? Is that actually from the university?
No, it actually comes from the Department of Agriculture. So once our local money comes in, then our money is matched, and it's matched at about 85%. So every dollar the local spends, we get about an 85% match back. And then we get some Smith Lever money, which is federal. So when every piece is working, that actually works pretty well. We're not tied to just one pot of money, which generally works quite well. With a grant, not so much. But a few years ago, we actually had state funding that was behind. It caused a lot of angst. However, you know, we weathered through that, and then we were able to use some other funding that we had. And so right now, funding is pretty stable with the exception of this huge grant.
So, but you do have funding from the university, right?
Yes, we get, all of it passes through the university. The Smith Lever money, because we're a land grant university, the money comes, we do get some general revenue funds, but that's actually a relatively small part of our budget.
I can't think of anything more fundamental than feeding people. I'd like, and I want to be clear, this wouldn't even begin to bridge the gap, and it would only be for a year. And it would be like a tiny corner of this gap. But I would be interested in maybe between now and September, hearing about how we could take, we have a little bit of money, American Rescue Plan Act interest. It's not even close to this amount. And again, it wouldn't be a forever kind of thing, but I can think of very few ways to spend that money that would be more immediate. So, I mean, we'd probably be talking about a position for a year,
Right.
but for the people that impacts, it's a big deal. So I just wanted to throw that out there as we're trying to patchwork the social safety net of our county back together, that maybe that would be something to think about as a stopgap, you know, while you're trying to identify other grant funds and or like maybe it could be leverage on
And leverage, exactly. And that's where we're starting is
Right.
with leverage on others. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, like match money or whatever. So
Exactly.
I would be, I think I don't want to speak for this body, but I think we'd be interested in something like that.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I will be in touch.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next up, we have the VAC.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl Walker, Superintendent of the VAC. For my highlights, since 2012, the Champaign Board has been very supportive of the Veterans Assistance Commission along with the VAC Board. I had 3 line items change projected for my FY 2026 budget. It was software and phone and personnel increase. But we've had an increase in uptake in veterans who need assistance due to the political climate that we live in and just the financial situation that they find themselves. Last month, I had 137 phone calls, 54 office visits. Our total assistance disbursement was $6,243.73. We spent $4,364 in rent, $250 on mortgage, $1,629.73 on utilities. Actually gave a gift certificate of $50 for food, 1 burial claim, 9 DD 214 assists, 13 medical record assists, and 44 general assists. And those are the highlights for my department.
Are there any questions for Ms. Walker? Jeff?
Thanks, Cheryl, for being here. And also thank you for all that you've done to help with the veterans in Champaign County. It's been a large transition and you've managed it very effectively, and the county board really appreciates you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, planning and zoning.
Good evening, Board. I was looking through the monthly reports this afternoon. I hope my estimates on revenues are still accurate. They were based on the activities through the month of May, but through June, our permitting for both zoning use permits and residential for new homes and residential accessory structures are down half from last year. I don't know why that is, but I know that new homes are down half and residential accessory structures are down half. The past 3 years, our residential accessory structures have been largely ground-mounted solar. I think that's been off this year to date, but zoning techs tell me that they're starting to get a lot more calls on that. As far as zoning cases, that's down to 2/3 from 24. And just in terms of plain old variances, we're not seeing that many. We're seeing many fewer special use permits. Special use permits are the expensive zoning case. So for some reason, all of the activity is down. Not so much that we're sitting around twiddling our thumbs, but we're not rushed like we have been the past few years. 23 and 24 were really busy years. 25 is down. To a certain extent, that might be expected just because are we going to continue on an upward trend forever? Probably not. But we're definitely not on an upward trend now. We're down. Good news. In the past 2 weeks, I've hired 2 zoning officers. Now, historically, the county's only had 1 zoning officer, but in 24, for the budget in 24, you authorized a 2nd zoning officer because of our backlog of cases. And I think we're finally positioned to do something about that. It's been a hard search for zoning officers. It's a tough position. You can't get a degree in zoning. It's such a challenging position. Not many people are interested. I told you last year I had offered it to 4 people and they all turned me down. But this year, happenstance, in a matter of a few weeks, I had 2 good applicants. They were both interested, and I extended offers. One started Monday, and the other one starts next Monday. So that's great news.
Mr. Thorsland?
Hey, John. Probably Aaron and I both have that same kind of question. If you look back over 10 years and not just over the past 3 or 4, are we coming back down to sort of an average level over the 10 this year? Not necessarily super slow, but, or are we way below, let's say, the past average?
It looks like this year is going to be more like 21.
Okay, that was a slow.
It was slow. I didn't get a chance to go back further than that, but we'll be close to 21, it looks like. Now, I say that, but in terms of zoning cases, we're going to get a flush of community solar farm applications in the next 2 weeks. It's amazing how many calls we've been getting, and now they're coming to fruition. For zoning use permits, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Furtado?
I just wanted to comment. One of the reasons, there's been a lot of reasons that have, I would argue, artificially propped up our budget. And the fact that Champaign County has been one of the most rapidly, with some dips, growing places in the country for a while has been one of those. But one of the things I track pretty regularly is the Fred new housing starts, and that has been steadily dropping since this administration came in. It's dropped every month, I think. So you see the graph, it was up. So this is not just a Champaign thing. This is a national trend. And, all of those things add to our property tax revenue. They add, to different fees that we get. They add to those stamps that the recorder get. There's multiple sources of revenue that hit the county. And so it's something that I think we need to keep in mind. I hope it turns around. But my friends I have a lot of friends in the construction industry, and both here and Ohio, they're incredibly concerned about new housing starts. So your news isn't surprising. It's more indicative of a national trend.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Hall. And congratulations on hiring. Oh, you're sorry. Never mind. You don't get to leave us, but congratulations for me on hiring those 2 new officers.
Thank you. Solid waste, again, with solid waste, it's a declining fund balance. We only spend, we get a little reimbursement from our recycling events, but the reimbursements obviously don't make up for the total. Last year, we were able to increase the fee for waste hauler licenses to the maximum allowed by state law. That helped last year, but it looks like for 26, we're going to be where we thought we were going to be for 25 with the 0 fund balance. Some of our costs continue to rise. State Farm Center is our main source of cost right now for the household hazardous waste. They've been increasing their costs every year. I'll try to get that located to a location that doesn't cost, but even if we get it located, the $3,000 we pay for that one-day event there, Champaign County only pays a third. So the costs are what they are, and you might say it's the cost of living, right? You're either going to have garbage or you're going to have recycling. But we have a strong turnout of all of the events. People really like the recycling service that are provided. Hopefully the Champaign County environmental stewards with their new facility, when it comes online, that may help. We'll have to see. That might be a good future for us, but it's not there yet.
Mr. Pugh?
Yes, and if I'm correct, September 1st is when people can start signing up for the electronics collection, correct?
I believe so.
Here we are.
We're ready for the next one.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. I'm John Burgee, Chairman of the Board of Review. Board of Review reviews all of the property assessments in the county upon which our real estate taxes are based. We also represent the county at Property Tax Appeal Board hearings. And in the past 2 years, we've held public forums to let people know about appealing their assessments, and they've been quite popular. So our budget has not changed aside from the salary increase that you guys granted. Travis and administration did give us a $1,500 software feature in DevNet so we can access digital property record cards, because the city of Champaign was surprised we were not able to do that. So we appreciate that. And I guess that actually comes out of the CARF budget. It's not a line item for us. So if you have any questions.
Looks like we don't have any. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Travis.
Hello, I'm Paula Bates, the Supervisor of Assessments. We'll just go over my new construction for 2025 is about 59 million. That's down quite a bit from last year. It was around 92 million, I believe. Our budget for legal notices is based on 29,940 publications. That hasn't changed from last year. And half of the salary is reimbursed by the state. We really don't have any changes to our budget at all for this year. Thank
Are
you.
there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, Auditor George Danis.
Good evening. I'm George, the auditor. As you know, my office is the general accountant for the county, the accounts payable, and until this year, responsible for the production of the annual financial report and the preparation for the external audit. There is really not too much change from last year or the year prior. If you look at my revenues, they're projected to be flat. Revenues should probably track wage increases from the regular salary budget. So really 3% growth would be most realistic, but that wouldn't change what we have up there materially. The expenditure total is what I expected. The 2025 projected amount included the revision based on the contractual increase with the Ask Me contract, and then the 26 budget indicates a further 3% increase. And so the totals are precisely what I expected.
Are there any questions for Mr. Danos? Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Next up, Treasurer Byron Clark.
Good evening. I'm Byron Clark. I am the treasurer. Been in office now for approximately 5 months, and want to talk about the treasurer's office budget. But the highlight of the budget is the new position requests that you all have. The Champaign County Collector's Office is performing 2 fully legally mandated functions. One is Treasury. That includes cash management, investments, and county disbursements, and collection is the other arm. That includes preparing tax bills, collecting and distributing property tax revenue to 500 plus taxing districts, and running the annual tax sale. On paper, we are not staffed to safely sustain those dual work loads long term. The county's FY 2025 budget description explicitly affirms that the treasurer also serves as county collector and must distribute funds to more than 500 taxing districts. The county's publicly posted job structure for the treasurer's office only lists the treasurer and the chief deputy treasurer as the non-bargaining senior positions. And the office's job description and investment policy reference a small senior staff. That limited senior staff footprint constrains necessary supervision, segregation of duties, continuity planning, and the specialized work that collector functions that we have to do as far as collector functions. That includes the tax bill production, delinquent tax processing, tax sale management, and the distribution and reconciliation. Distribution reconciliation. We understand that the county board's direction to maintain a flat budget, and we're willing to accept that, except for this critical need in our office. This is really, really important. Right now, we have the opportunity to hire a very skilled expert in systems. She's highly qualified in DevNet, Catalyst, Munis, and in fact, she helped train the previous treasurer and deputy treasurer in those systems, especially DevNet. This is a great opportunity for us, and one that I asking you to fund this position so that our department will be healthy and able to fulfill its duties. To put this into context where we are right now, I gathered some information on some other populations of similar, some other counties of similar populations. And as best I can, I try to do apples to apples. And I understand that a lot of times you're saying, one might say that, what does another county has to do with this? But this isn't a case of sort of children asking for the same amount of milk as another children. This is really, really important, folks. So Peoria County, for instance, population 177,000. Peoria's official county documents and committee agendas list a treasurer supported by a deputy chief, chief deputy treasurer, multiple deputy treasurers, two bookkeepers, and additional treasurer staff. McLean County, our neighbors there. McLean County's Directory and Public Compensation reports show that the treasurer is supported by an assistant deputy treasurer, in addition to the elected treasurer, indicating McLean explicitly funds at least 2 second-tier positions to share operational and supervisory responsibilities for treasurer collector duties. Now, for the sake of time, I have more counties here. I've been implored to kind of keep this short, but the point is that compared to our counterparts in other counties, we don't have the senior staffing that we need to carry out critical functions in the treasurer's office. The specific practical risks should this position remain unfunded are internal control weakness and audit risk. One senior deputy is insufficient to maintain proper segregation of duties between receiving, reconciling, and dispersing large tax receipts. Again, 205 taxing districts. This increases the risk of audit findings and questioned distributions. Tax distribution and reconciliation delays are another potential risk that we face. The collector function requires concentrated effort during tax cycles and tax sale processing. Understaffing leads to late or error-prone distributions. One of the things that has really that stood out to me the most since I've been in this role is that, of course, we are the last stop. And so being able to be in position to effectively work through the things so that we can check things before we have these billing errors is critical. This role would really help do that. So I'm asking you to fund this position. One thing I have to say is that for me, in this position and other positions, I worked in philanthropy for a while at the University of Illinois, and stewardship was really, really a big, important part of those roles. One thing that I share with you as county board members, perhaps more, not more than, but perhaps as much as any other department in the county, is that we have this responsibility to be good stewards of the public money. It's in that spirit that I'm asking for this position. It is vital, folks. And so other than that, our budget is flat. We moved a little bit of funds around from our professional services to training in anticipation that we will get this funded. And so thank you for consideration.
Are there any questions from the board for Mr. Clark? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, as related to our special revenue funds, again, there's not a lot of movement here, so I'll be very, very quick. Beginning with Special Revenue Fund 2610. This is our working cash fund established for short-term borrowing. Fortunately, we haven't had to tap into this. I think that's a positive, a net positive. This form could help with us resolve small short-term cash flow issues if needed, but it's not positioned to do any heavy funding for anything. And then we have 2619, Fund 2619, this tax automation fund. This is the fund that we tap into for technology and the ongoing tax collection operations. Its primary revenue source is a $10 fee collected on each tax sale item. This fund plays a critical role in keeping our systems updated and having reliable equipment. Special Revenue Fund 2627 is the Property Tax Interest Fee Fund. This fee, self-explanatory, this is the fee that we use to cover interest payments on outstanding obligations. It's maintained and specifically for serving interest. We're still working on the numbers of this fund, Travis and I, but we'll have those available to you in September. And finally, the 2609, the Tax Indemnity Fund. This fund was established to provide a fair process for property owners who lose their property in a tax sale when they retain equity, those property owners can make a claim to receive compensation, and that's capped at $99,000. The fund is supported by fees collected at tax sales, and so that fund exists to cover our interest. To make the property owners whole in the case that they have equity in their homes when they lose them. Well, thank you.
Ms. Furtado.
On that last one, I do have a question, and maybe this might, I don't know if this is for you or maybe more for Travis. Since the Supreme Court, Tyler versus Hennepin County, basically gave taxpayers a lot more recourse in order to recoup equity that was lost in a tax sale. Do we anticipate that this dollar amount is enough to cover our exposure on that fund?
Yeah, that's something that Byron, me, and the state's attorney's office, probably Andrew, need to kind of hash out a little bit more. But yeah, I think Michelle has something else to add.
No, we would be devastated. Every county in the state would be devastated. There is no way for us to calculate what that cost could possibly be because we don't know what kind of equity people have. We did look into some preliminary stuff. There's one specific tax buyer that has brought the lawsuit, and they do own about 15 properties in our county. One of the things that we're looking into is if they're suing us, why are they continuing to buy stuff at our tax sale, and do we have to allow that? Their exposure is much more limited if it's just them in this current lawsuit. But of course, we know that's not how that's going to work. But if this lawsuit were to win, it would completely transform how the tax sale function works in the state as a whole, and we would at least not be alone in that very sinking ship, as the legislature would have to figure out a way to address it.
My understanding is Illinois is one of the few states that hasn't corrected, that like hasn't brought their tax sale process in line with this new Supreme Court ruling. And I did see a study, a university study, and I cannot remember which university, that just looked at county by county potential liability in Illinois, and it was a very short amount of time. And I thought our exposure was like something like $2 million, and that was not like a full landscape. And it was not for it to continue to snowball. It was so. When we think about potential pressures, in most cases, it seems like these cases are snowballing into class actions. So I think when we're thinking about potential exposures, this is one that we need to just kind of keep in mind. It's something I talked a lot about when Matt Bannock, when he was here, and the previous treasurer. And you got to keep following the state law, but best of luck.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And one of the things for me in talking to other county treasurers throughout the state, but as you and Michelle mentioned, it is a serious issue, and one that, in addition to relying on the state's attorney's office and their advice, I'm also listening to what other counties are doing and how they're reacting to this.
Anything further? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Clark. I mean it this time.
Yep. Thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Next up, we have the county clerk and recorder.
All right, grand evening, everyone. I am Aaron Ammons, the Champaign County Clerk. All right, so are we up and running? How you doing, Travis? All right, so our highlights are for 2025. The office administered 2 elections during the consolidated election cycle. We continue to look for ways to enhance elections accessibility and security. This is going to be a concern as we move into 26. Parking and accessibility for the elections, because we're going to be in a midterm election, so it's going to be a lot of people coming into this area here to vote, and where they are going to park and all that is going to be an issue. So I want to make sure that we think about that as we move forward. At the time of the budget preparation, the permanent vote by mail list has over 18,000 voters signed up. We are looking to expand that so we can try to limit the number of people who would need to come here. For 2026, we anticipate 2 elections, of course, the primary and the general midterm election. And in 2025, we submitted an RFP for a new voter registration program, and we have completed data migration, and I am happy to announce that we went live today with the new voter registration system. Absolutely. Does not mean that everything is ready to go. You can't go to online for vote by mail just yet. We're still working out a couple of different things, but we are moving in the right direction for sure. So I'm very happy about that. Other highlights would be that we completed the property tax extension on time for the 5th year in a row. We are continuing to work on the digitization of archives to make those property tax records available to the public on our website. In 2024, we implemented Apex for vital records, which streamlined workflow while protecting archival vital record documents. So in 2024, we saw the completion of the digitization of all vital records documents that was paid through ARPA funding. And also in 2024, the office won an award at the Illinois Clerk and Recorders Association meeting for the highest volume of online records processed in a large county category. We anticipate that we would do that again. Also in 2025, our grants, the State Board of Elections grant for IVRS was $183,876.47 for Champaign County. The clerk's office was able to submit reimbursements for an additional $73,855.59, bringing the total reimbursement to $257,732.06. I thought you all would clap with all the funding problems that we have right now. These funds were utilized to offset costs to operating elections. The clerk's office was able to submit reimbursements that helped pay for over half of the purchase of the new voter registration system program, saving the general fund over $200,000. Anticipated reimbursements will be for voter registration software program, annual licensing, postage for voter registration cards, temporary staff for same-day voter registration at early polling locations, and election security expenditures. Other eligible reimbursements will focus on cybersecurity for elections hardware, staff training to maintain security and best practices as recommended by the State Board of Elections. In FY 2026, the IVRS grant award is estimated to be $250,000. The grant funding from SBOE's cycle does not line up with the county's fiscal year and crosses 2 fiscal years when the grant cycle begins. And the grant cycle runs from July 1st to June 30th for grant awards. Let's see. So the automation fund will again be used to supplement office operations, but the long-term objective is to build a sufficient fund balance so that the automation fund can be used for large-scale capital and technology purchases to improve operational efficiency and services, including elections. So that's for, I don't want to say clerk side, recorder side. I want to make sure we're all clear that there is no recorder's office anymore. There's a recorder's division within the clerk's office, but the funds, our budgets are separate because we still do have 2 separate funds for that. All right. Moving over to this recorder's division for 2025. I'm sorry, should I pause there for any questions for vitals, elections, or taxes? Doesn't? No? All right. FY 2025 continues to be steady for recording of deeds and documents. Staff continue to provide excellent customer service while processing thousands of documents each month. I'm going to shout out to Tony, Barb, Madra, Gidget, as well as Chris, and I should have named Angie, Tunde, Katie, Rita, Kelly. Hannah just left today. We had an employee leave yesterday, actually was her last day. Darian and Sierra and Phil and Juanita and Matt and Molly and Josh and Kevin. Am I missing anybody? Okay, I got it all. Okay. We got to give love to these folks who are doing this work every day. All right, so in 2024, the Clerk and Recorder's Office created the Restrictive Covenants Project to help property owners understand restrictive covenant language associated with their land records. The Clerk and Recorder's Office, the Clerk's Office, formed an advisory committee made up of elected officials, realtors, University of Illinois representatives, legal experts, and county board members. This is featured on the Clerk and Recorder's website, and the office has also hosted several outreach events that have been, they've been growing, and the interest in these events are growing. And the work that needs to be done around the restrictive covenants. Of the 19 subdivisions, we've had 2 subdivisions, 2 people come in to strike the language from those subdivisions, so we're down to 17, and we're currently working with the University of Illinois and a couple of professors there to actually do to dig deeper into this work with some of the help of Board Member Rodriguez. To help us get that started. So the Clerk and Recorder's Office is working with GIS to map the areas of Champaign County that have been impacted by restrictive covenants, and the office plans to make this data accessible to the public and the county board with the goal of it informing funding opportunities. The Restricted Covenant Project Committee meets regularly to advise on mission goals and deliverables about the project. Also, although we were initially expecting the digitization project in the recorder's office to be funded by ARPA, for some reason that didn't happen. In FY 2025, the Clerk and Recorder's Office used over $300,000 from our automation fund to fund a large-scale digitization project. This project, did I say that saved us $300,000 also? I just thought I'd reiterate that point. This project was digitizing the archival records, books, and other documents physically located inside the vault. The commitment to utilize funds to preserve archival books and documents to make them more accessible to the public and to streamline workflow is an important mission of the clerk's office. Any questions?
Ms. Ellie.
For some reason, I have to hit the mic 3 times tonight. Going back to elections, do you have any loss of federal funding at this point?
Not at this point. I'm sure there will be something that if there are federal dollars coming through the state to the state of Illinois, depending on the current dictator and how he responds to Illinois, we may have an issue there. But right now we haven't seen that. I'm more concerned with the attacks on vote by mail. So I'm working with the AG's office and the state's attorney's office to try to make sure we're clear as local election officials in the state of Illinois as to what we need to respond to, what we are obligated to respond to. We've already had one inquiry from the DOJ, so we are trying to work through that. That is my most pressing concern at this time.
Mr. Thorsland?
Thank you for bringing up the VBM issue. We know that this current administration doesn't like it, even though that's how they vote. So you said you had one inquiry already from DOJ?
Yeah, this was more, they were sent to the State Board of Elections to see what the maintenance process is for all of us. For some reason, they thought that the state of Illinois had everything as a top-down system, so they were requesting that process of maintenance, how the rolls, the voter rolls are cleaned up. They were informed, of course, that we're a bottom-up system and that each county has their own. So they're going out to talk to every single county clerk or commission to ask for that process, how we do our maintenance records. So that is what I'm preparing at this time.
Okay, so you're anticipating that you're going to get contacted.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But as far as I know, we're pretty robust, right?
Yes, we are actually, the local Republican Party will even say that we have some of the cleanest records in the state of Illinois.
Okay, well, hopefully they're there to speak up for us.
Well, we'll see.
Thanks.
Ms. Lakshin?
If this is a terrible question, if there does end up being some sort of move to strike vote by mail, what do you anticipate that would do in terms of cost for running an election here in Champaign County?
Well, cost is something that we would certainly get to, but we'd have to look at expanding the number of polling locations, again, getting enough election judges to do that. But it's more expensive, of course, for us to have the polling locations to pay for all the election judges. It's at least $15,000 to $20,000 worth of equipment that would have to go to each polling location. So, I'm looking at that as well, the cost, but I think more importantly, at this time, I'm more concerned about how would people vote, making sure that the lines wouldn't be out the door and things like that. I'm actually kind of confident that with the state already having this in place and the history that's around it, other states are also going to fight it. But I don't know if that's why I'm trying to get clarity. I don't think the federal government has the right to come in and tell us that we can't do that. I am a little bit perplexed as to if we're talking about federal offices, the president and the U.S. Senate and Congress versus more local, if there's some splitting hairs there, but that's why I'm waiting to get some direction from the AG and the state's attorney.
First of all, thank you for everything you've done this year. You've gotten an incredible amount done. You've saved us a lot of money. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you and your staff. I do have a question. So you have the your digitization project. Is that completely done?
So we just got an email today from Tony, who's the director of our Recorders Division. For that project, it's wrapping up. It's not completely done. So we are wrapping it up, and we got some images today for us to take a look at, but it looks good at this particular point. It looks like it's going in the right direction.
Great. I don't know if you were here for the circuit clerk, but they are also having issues with digitization and wanting to digitize their records. Have there been any collaboration between you two to kind of give her tips or?
No, I'm certainly happy to talk to anyone. We actually did this collaboration initially under the previous executive. When we were trying to do the digitization project, we were asked to bring other departments in to sort of, I guess, make it a bigger project so that we can maybe get a better deal or something like that. Maybe that's where my $300,000 got swept up. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm certainly open to that. And anyone who has questions about it, I'm happy to talk to her. I'll reach out to Susan and see if she has any questions about it.
That would be great. Thank you.
No problem.
I believe Susan has actually, when she spoke to us, she said that her digitization is different, and it's to the point where there's only one vendor who's capable of doing circuit clerk style digitization. I believe that's why they ended up splitting, if my memory is correct. I want to amplify what Member Vanich Theonaut said. you walk the walk. We told you we don't have money, and you went and you just got money for it. You worked your tail off. I was in there when you were on the phone one time. You nickel and diming down to the penny to get us the lowest rate on all of these things. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think that's my job, my responsibility to make sure that we're good stewards of taxpayer dollars. But I do want to give a shout out to my chief, Angie, because she's the one who primarily works in all these grants. So I get to do the negotiating and be the heavy, but she's doing a lot of the everyday lifting. So I wanted to shout her out for that as well.
Stephanie?
I do have a question. I know that you've spent it down, your automation fund on the recorder side, but it still remains one of our more robust automation. Do you have any plans for that, or is your plan to just let it build back up again?
Well, I think it needs to build back up. There's a couple of things that we might be able to do with that we're talking about. So I don't know how much deeper I can go into that question. I think
it's a lot healthier than the clerk side.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's because we, for whatever reason, we can use the, well, it's the recorders division it makes money for the county. Right. So it makes a lot more money than we do on the clerks and some of in the vitals division. Yeah. Yep. What? No question from Jeff tonight? You got to be kidding me, right? Okay. All right. Is that it?
Microphone, please. I want that on the record.
We're good?
Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a great night, everybody.
Thank you for the wonderful acknowledgement.
Take care.
Next up, information technology, MC Neal.
Good evening, board. IT has a very basic budget. Our more notable purchases are funded through CARF, which I believe was covered Monday evening in recent years, ARPA as well, or the particular individual department budgets, so their automation lines, things of that nature. But specifically, IT budget largely covers wages for personnel, utilities, think phone service, internet service, things of that nature, and our contracted copier service. I didn't make a slide for it, but I did include within pads some of the things we've done over the past year, and just to quickly touch upon a few of them, the move to Bennett was a very notable portion of our workload over the past year. Additionally, we have implemented a new storage system for all of our server infrastructure, which is an extremely large lift. We've been working on decommissioning a multitude of legacy systems and migrating those over to current actively supported platforms and systems. We replaced all of our Xerox copiers across the county. I think it was just shy of 100 with newer Sharp copiers. Finished that project a couple weeks ago. And we continue to provide support on a multitude of projects, including the migration to the new timekeeping system, UKG Ready, including the implementation of Munis for the Treasurer's Office. And right now we are working with both the State's Attorney's Office and Public Defender's Office for their implementation of their new case management system, and the normal just keeping the lights on from a technology standpoint day in and day out. Regarding highlights for next budget year, I believe I may have mentioned it last year, but many perpetual programs and services that we've purchased over the years are no longer being supported. Whatever verbiage you want to use, end of life, sunset, all of the companies are getting rid of those perpetual lifetime programs. They're no longer supporting them. They're not patching them. They're not updating them. It's getting to a point you just are unable to use them. So they are pushing people to their subscription-based offerings. Specifically, there are a multitude of those systems that we use for computer deployment and managing. And so next year we will be implementing some tools that are going to come at a higher cost, those subscription-based ones, to be able to do the same thing that we've been doing over the years. Secondly, remote disaster recovery system. We have an offsite disaster recovery system set up for the AS400, so everything related to the court system, but that is about it. So we will be moving forward with getting a system in place for the large majority of the remainder of our infrastructure. So if some natural disaster comes through and hits our data center, we will have everything safely stored offsite from again, a disaster recovery standpoint. Implementation of advanced cybersecurity safeguard protection. To quickly cover that, I will say that we'll be essentially taking some steps to implement some more robust, comprehensive, granular controls to be able to ensure that devices that should not be on our network are blocked and they are not allowed. Either they are they don't have the proper antivirus on them. They are running software that's unpatched. Anything that would make them vulnerable, we are going to get systems in place to block them before they're able to get on the network. Exploring options for AI platform offerings. We are getting more and more requests from departments to be able to implement AI-related products and services. There are notable concerns with implementing a lot of these AI systems. And so we've been pretty restrictive in that regard when we are getting these requests. But next year we'll be taking some steps, firstly to create a AI policy for users that will tie into our computer use policy, and also exploring some different platforms and offerings for AI. So that way when departments reach out because they heard of some fancy new AI service or product, instead of us just saying no, we'll be able to point them to a list of approved services that they can use. And so hopefully something that we have already vetted will be able to fit the bill for what they are asking for. And lastly, exploring options for a new website. Our website is getting pretty long in the tooth, both from a looks and navigation standpoint, as well as a back-end management standpoint. Additionally, there are forthcoming legal requirements that will be coming out to make sure that websites are accessible. And so next year we'll be exploring options for some new website platforms that we'll be able to pivot to and bring some needed improvements for the website. I had one additional slide. I did not get submitted in time to make prints, but I wanted to quickly share some concerns. Firstly, the first one I already mentioned, many services that we purchased for one-time, lifetime usage we're no longer going to be able to get. And so, you know, essentially we would just purchase that product that 1 year and we never had to budget for it ever again. And so now we're going to have those recurring either monthly or annual costs. So I've already started conversations with admin and Travis to try to figure out how we're going to be able to fund those. But next year, within some budget, you are going to see an increase for some of these products and services. Tariffs increasing costs of goods, again, not directly in the IT budget, but in CAR for maybe some other departments' budget lines. You may see a substantial increase in hardware products. We've seen a lot of manufacturers that will come just with a normal 8 or 9% year-over-year increase on their equipment, and then shortly thereafter they'll come with an additional 15 to 20% increase, saying that it's related to tariffs. So again, just a heads up that we are continuing to deal with that increase as well. Thirdly, government funding cuts. We utilize services that historically have been provided to us for free because we are a government entity. So the feds would give us access to certain services and products that we'd be able to use at no charge. And the funding for those services is drying up, it's being cut. And so in one example, a set of services that we used from one entity that used to be free for us, now it is going to come at a cost, and the bill for that, again, that one provider is around $10,000 a year. So, and I'm mentioning that not just for that one $10,000 from that one provider, but this may be the first of many to come. So things that are being provided to us at no charge or at a very low cost at the federal government level or even at the state level, we may start having to chip in a substantial amount for those. And lastly, don't want to sound like a broken record. I know I've mentioned this for a couple years, but I implore you to attempt to figure something out regarding the compensation for county IT. The guys do a phenomenal job. They work hard. They constantly get glowing reviews from all the different departments. And it is, I will just say it is unfair for them to be able to be providing the support that they are day in and day out, and their compensation is under market rate, specifically less than what their counterparts at the university or at the cities are making. It's bringing about some resentment. It's making it difficult to keep the good staff. Puts me in a situation where I can't move forward with certain steps from some underperforming staff, because if I already can't fill positions, I don't want to make it even worse by having more vacancies, and makes it extremely difficult to attract people when we do have vacancies. I mentioned it before, but one of our positions was vacant for 1.5 years because we could not find someone qualified to take the position. That position was made vacant because the person we had hired, after a few months, found another job with a local government entity making more money, so they left. As recent as a few months ago, we lost another member of the team to another local government agency that was paying them right around 17, 18% more than what they were making here. And so it's getting difficult to be able to maintain a high performing IT department with what is being offered. Everything from all agencies, all departments and offices across the county, more and more everything they do is technology based. And so if the IT department isn't running the way it should be on all cylinders, it's going to be very difficult for those other offices to do their job when they're depending on IT. And so I guess the ask is just for support to be able to increase the pay range for IT to minimally match that of some of these other local agencies, or again, even the numbers that Gallagher provided in their study, although I think, could have been higher, it's still more than what we're making now. And so with that was all that I had for tonight. And so I will open it up for any questions I can answer.
Mr. Vitava.
Hi there. Regarding the wage adjustments, are the numbers that we have before us your current wages, or what you're anticipating being able to boost people up with?
Current wages.
So we would expect you to be asking for more than what's currently on these line items?
If the support is there, I can definitely get something together and turned around very quickly with the numbers. But again, we already have the data from the Gallagher studies, but I can definitely get some numbers from some local government agencies and provide that as well and get something submitted. But the numbers right now are for the current rate that we're at.
I'd be interested to see what you think you need so that I can decide whether or not we can support it.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Furtado.
I wanted to thank you for doing the copier transition. That was a point of a surprising amount of angst in our last budget cycle by many elected officials. So thank you for spearheading that and getting that done. That's a very big task. I also wanted to note that our 6-year IT plan ended this year in 2025. And I think that having that landscape of that plan was incredibly helpful to this board to understand. And I would encourage the administration to, I don't want to put more on your plate, but I think we are now, I think there's a lot of, we got off of a lot of old systems. I think the circuit clerk's operational piece is still the remaining major thing on that plan that is still not quite done. I believe the only person left on this board that served on that body that helped develop that plan along with your predecessor is Mr. Esri. So maybe Mr. Esri would be willing to serve on that again since he would have that institutional knowledge. But that, I think, in terms of a budgeting and landscaping document was so, I think one of the reasons things got so bad is we didn't have anything like that. We didn't have a roadmap. So we just, drove off a cliff. And now that we've, sort of gotten the car back on the road, I don't want in 10 years. So this is an ask for like all of administration, but I think, yeah, the plan's done at the end of this year. I'm not saying we did everything on it, but it ends in 2025. So I thought it was really, really helpful. And I'm sure it would be helpful for Travis to have like that landscaped out in terms of funding.
Yes, ma'am. I will say that is, it has been on the to-do list, but priorities keep pushing it down. But I will be sure to bump that up and get on that sooner than later.
MC, speaking of priorities, you gave us a cliffhanger in here where you said, in addition, staffing will need to be realigned over the next 3 to 5 years in order to accommodate the implementation of new systems and services. What do you envision with that?
So I don't have specifics right now, largely because I think I'm just shy of 5 years being here with the county. And I want to say maybe 3 months out of those 5 years, we've been fully staffed. Aside from that, it's just we've been dealing with vacancies. And so this is based just on seeing the increase in the amount of support that we're being asked for, an increase in the amount of the different systems that are being implemented, and knowing that we are going to need more manpower to be able to, again, maintain the level of support that we have right now. Again, it's difficult for me to give a number of staff right now because it would be lovely if I could at least have all of my current positions fully staffed for a while to see how we adjust. So all I can say at this point is we definitely will need some additional manpower, but at this point, I don't feel comfortable giving a count for the number of staff, but I will try to get something together and submit it sooner than later.
So we should all just rightfully assume that we'll need more people and more money.
Correct.
Okay. That's fair.
Yes.
Fair. Are there any other questions? Mr. Wilson?
First question for tonight. This is more of a process question. So where is AI utilized now in the county, and where do you see advantages that AI can provide to county services?
Yes, sir. It is wonderful that you asked that right now because one of the department heads who were asking about AI is here. And so I don't know if he wants to pop up and chime in, but as of now, right now, it is pretty surface level as far as assistance with document creation, brainstorming, things of that nature. It could be used for things such as replacing some manual tasks that staff are currently using, being able to use AI for that. Some examples I've seen other government agencies use. So we are in a similar situation where we have a slew of our file storage just continues to bloat and bloat and bloat because departments just save and never go back. So people have implemented AI to be able to look through file servers and group things together that it believes are documents or media that no longer is needed, and it will put it in a particular folder for someone to review. It can tag particular documents. It can go through and retroactively provide certain edits to documents or changes or do things with OCR or a multitude of things. And then it can kind of piggyback on other systems. So if, as an example, if the circuit clerk is getting tickets in and they're having to manually input some information, they'll be able to hand that off to AI and AI will be able to not just use OCR to put that information in, but they'll be able to perform additional steps throughout that process. And I don't know if Byron wants to come up and mention what he was hoping to get out of AI, but.
Well, thank you. So I reached out to MC about AI specifically for what he talked about. I'm aware of its organizational potential, and especially in things like email management. It allows, it learns, or it's capable of learning what comes in, and just how to more efficiently categorize that, so that anybody using the email can sort of go through and easily get the things and have it more categorized. So that was my interest in it.
So more like a high-speed sorter then.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
That and also, there's been some requests for using some AI services that would be akin to an assistant. So someone that would look through your calendar, see what you have, maybe reach out and schedule appointments with someone else. You may receive an email that's pages and pages long and it'll just summarize it, or it may go in and group your emails to let you know. And you can, right now you can set up rules, but it's pretty rigid. And so AI will have a bit more granular control to put things in a folder that says, hey, you, based on what's in this email, you need to respond to this in the next 24 hours, or this is urgent. So a multitude of things, but yes, sir.
Any other questions? Ellie?
You mentioned the federal cuts that will result in you having to pay for certain things. So, I mean, you gave the $10,000 example. Maybe you can't foresee exactly, but could you get us an estimate, if not tonight, at some point of, like, are we talking 10,000 times 3 times 10 times?
So it's tough because the agencies, they never put a price tag on it. It wasn't, oh, this is a X dollar value that we're giving you for free. It was just, oh, these are services we're giving you for free. And then we didn't find out until their services got cut, and they went back and they ran their numbers and they said, oh, we're now moving forward with this. And, this is the tiered pricing structure. And based on how large your agency is or what your operating budget is, this is how much you're going to have to pay. So I can try to, and all of these offerings, even at us having to, the services and products coming with a price tag now, it's still cheaper continuing to stay with these government offerings than it is to go out to the private sector who has those offerings. So at best, I can look at all those services that we're currently getting for free, and I can look at similar third-party offerings, and I can come up with numbers for that. But it's really going to depend on when they come back. I will say another offering. Currently, we get some services provided through the state, which is probably around $40,000 to $50,000, and that's grant funded. And so, if that grant also dries up, that's going to be added. But for the and that I know because they are just funding a third party offering. So I know what that dollar amount is. It's just the state is saying, hey, we'll foot the bill. But the others that are being provided through the agencies instead of a third party, it's hard to gauge how much they'll charge if and when they do start sending a bill.
Mr. Esri?
Just a quick thanks to you, MC, and your department. When we first started having the meetings here, there was the issue in this room with some of the audio, and you quickly stepped up and made some changes. And not saying maybe there aren't some people who complain, but it's definitely better. And I know I haven't heard any complaints since you've made those changes to us. So just while I had the chance and while we were in this room, just thank you for getting on that and getting it done quickly.
Yes, sir. So there are still some issues we are working through with the vendor. Unfortunately, in with the old setup we had in Brookings, we had a lot more control than we do here in Bennett with the setup here, and I understand. So there are we always will respond quickly, but sometimes we'll come up to a point where we're like, hey, there's nothing we can do. We have to reach out to the vendor. And so vendor management is becoming more and more of a time dedication for me as well for a multitude of things. There's again, a certain level of service that we try to provide to all the offices and departments. And many times we have these vendors who will just drag their feet or won't do what they need to do. And years ago, when you used to be able just to put in one request and the vendor would see it through, now it literally is multiple emails, multiple calls, just following up. And so, but thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Anything else? Thank you, MC.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, physical plant and the extremely rugged interim physical plant director, Michelle Jett.
I wore all black in honor of budget, so just kick us off with that note right there. Okay, yeah, there's a couple things on the slide. The biggest one I think I want to highlight is we have 10 maintenance staff who picked up 150,000 extra square feet of facility to manage with no additional staffing added to that. That is an insane ask and an insane feat for them to have accomplished. We instituted a new work order system that has been really helpful, and I log into it all day, every day, and just continue to be astonished by the amount of things that they accomplish and tick off every single day. As I'm sure you can imagine, there's probably anywhere from 5 to 10 new requests every single day across the county, and everyone thinks their request is urgent, no matter what it is. And it's just 10 guys running from building to building to building, trying to resolve things as quickly as possible. I did not increase the facilities budget by $2 million. That is the CARF allocation. There is no increase to the actual facilities budget itself. The difference there between 25 and 26 is the CARF transfer that is scheduled for 26 based on the 11-year capital plan. The capital plan is very out of date at this point. I'm waiting for us to see how much we get through with this ARPA spending and what projects in that vein that we're able to tick off. And then at that point, talking with the facilities committee about a complete rehaul of what's left on the capital plan. We still need to add Bennett to it. We need to make some major adjustments for Brookins and things like that. So I think there needs to be kind of almost a subcommittee work on that concept, probably middle of next year, I think would be about the time where we would know what we're going to have totally accomplished with the ARPA money and what would still be sitting on the plan for us to keep in mind. Any questions on facility stuff?
Looks like we can move along.
Okay. So for administrative services, I think we did hand out a updated org chart. There was an error on the previous one, and then we added the new finance positions that were recently created. So that's a more updated and accurate version. We have not added the personnel costs for those finance positions because we were hoping to actually complete the hiring and then be able to give you an actual concrete number before the special finance committee meeting. And we don't want to just throw a number out there that we're really just guessing on. It just doesn't seem useful at this point. So there's a list of highlights, which I'm not going to necessarily go through each one, but I do want to go through on the next slide the concerns. So the demands for our HR services just continue to majorly outpace the capacity of what we have. And our capacity is, to be clear, we have 4 people in the HR department for 1,000 employees. That's I don't think that's actually even could qualify as a ratio. That's a lot of work, and a lot of those positions are specific. There's one payroll person, there's one insurance person, there's one processing and onboarding person, there's one person who's handling all of the complaints and discipline issues, and that whole area in and of itself, which has become its own arm of work that needs constant attention. So if we had money, I'd be asking for like 3 people. We don't, so I'm not. But I want to make it very clear that we do not have anywhere near the staffing capacity that we need to have for the amount of staff that we have. I'm going to echo MC's comments. It builds resentment. It builds frustration. I think as department heads were hanging on by our fingernails, telling them they're amazing, they're wonderful, buying them gift cards, trying to do whatever thing we can to make them feel appreciated. But at the end of the day, we don't have what's necessary, which is more personnel to make it a reasonable workload and a competitive salary, which, of course, I have a lot of thoughts on that. And we'll come back to that in a second. I just want to reiterate. So again, there's no question that this was not repeated many, many times at an open meeting on the record. This year's audit is not going to be done by the due date. There is no chance in the world that was going to happen, given the materials that we received. That was off the table. We are shooting for by the end of the year is our goal, and that's a goal. We're moving as quickly as we can. We've got some good consultants working on things. Orion, of course, is Orion, so that's an amazing benefit for us. CLA has been very responsive, but it's not going to be September 30th. That's not going to happen. And honestly, at this point, we're trying to get far enough into this audit that we can start focusing on next year's audit with a very lofty goal of next year's audit being on time, because as far as we can tell, nothing has been prepared up until this point for that audit either. So again, just to make sure we're all on the same page, that is a very deep hole that's going to take us a couple of years to get out of. And not helping in that scenario is the amount of time that our current finance people are spending answering accounts payable related questions, which is an issue we've addressed, but I just want to make sure that credit is given to the fact that their jobs have already significantly expanded, and in a very awkward way where they're being asked to help with things that they don't technically have access or authority to, but are very important things that need to be done. And departments are, quite frankly, desperate for someone to just help them fix their financial issue that they're trying to deal with, but they're not getting the support that they need. So I know we've resolved that. I'm not asking for a solution. I just want to give credit where credit's due. I do have 2 asks that don't actually have specific dollar amounts on them. One is, I think that as the county board and as a county, we need to be more legislatively active. There is so much stuff being done in Springfield that harms us, that we find out too late, that we don't advocate against, that we don't advocate for, the county of our size, it's really detrimental. The tax sale thing, we need to be meeting with our legislators now and pushing them. No one's going to want to deal with that. No one wants to sit down and figure out how to fix the tax sale issue. No one even wants to know what a tax sale is, because it just sounds boring when you say it. And it's super complicated. It's unfair. It's icky all around. It's a necessary evil almost to a degree, but we need to figure out, and I'm asking for like a legislative committee, because these are also philosophical issues, right? I don't think it's appropriate for just like one person to be going and lobbying for something on behalf of the county. These are things that, as the board and as elected officials, there needs to be some kind of agreement of how do we feel about this issue? Are we for it? Are we against it? We can't decide. Then is the internal agreement we're taking a step back, or we're doing something individually, not on behalf of the county, but like it's multi-layered. So that's why I'm saying I think that we need something pretty formal and put together that involves county board members, countywide elected officials, maybe even some of the appointed ones who, have like severely statutorily controlled positions. But we need to be talking about this stuff a lot more, and we need to be more proactive in Springfield about it. So that's my first ask. My second ask is we have a revenue problem. We have a budget right now with almost a $2 million deficit. So I know you just heard a lot of asks. We can't afford any of them. We can't afford the budget that we currently have with no increases, no changes, nothing. That is not going to change in our current revenue structure. That amazing almost 24% fund balance that we had, it's gone. It is just absolutely gone. If we're lucky, we'll end this year maybe at the policy requirement, if we're lucky. But health insurance negotiations aren't going so great, so I don't know about that one. We have a long-term plan that is going to crush us. And whatever you feel about taxes or PTEL or whatever, that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is that we have to be proactive and make a decision. So either we're going to do something about revenue or you're going to start cutting things. But as a board, you have to make a decision, because what we're doing right now is not going to work. And we're going to become a fiscal mess. And then we're not going to be able to make any decisions because we've driven ourselves into the ground because we weren't proactive about it. And we didn't make the hard decisions earlier when we needed to. So again, I don't know if I'm asking for another committee or what, but we need something. And either, again, it's we identify the revenue issue and we figure out how we're going to operate and fix it, or we sit down with a red pen and we start eliminating things, because what we have, we can't do this year, and we definitely can't do this next year. And we haven't even done the FOP negotiations. We haven't settled the health insurance. Like the software costs every year just continue to grow, and everything in the county runs on software. And if we don't have people to run the software, what are we going to do with the software? Like, our infrastructure needs just continue to outpace everything that we have. And it's not because we're a big bloated government. It's because that's how the world works right now. And we're just trying to keep up. So it's not a situation where we're misspending money. Like, I see the budgets. They're $300 for office supplies. Like, they're doing with very, very little, but the things that we're required to have, we can't afford to do. And the worst case scenario is that we're going to run into statutory trouble where someone sues us because we're not providing the services we're required to provide. So before we get to that, I'm asking that we come up with an actual plan as a unit and we move forward with it. So.
Stephanie?
I mean, I'm going to skip over the doom and gloom because I feel like I've done that enough on this board. Back when I was in Indianapolis, which is a consolidated city county, I was part of a small team of people that did a robust legislative tracking system. We had a database. We tracked all legislation that would impact the city and the county. We matched, there was a way for various department heads and elected officials to enter their thoughts about those things. When there was conflicting thoughts, we would bring those different groups together to see if there was a coherent legislative opinion. We regularly testified in the Capitol. We upstreamed and tried to intervene in legislation at the committee level. And then on top of all of that, we're not doing any of that. On top of all of that, we have a university that does a tremendous amount of research that drives legislation. My department alone, there are multiple people all the time that are testifying in Springfield. So there's people and there's other departments that are doing this. And particularly around things that matter a great deal to our county, like agriculture. I mean, we have people that are shaping policy in our backyard, and we are not talking to them. So I think, and we have seen over and over and over again that the state balances its budget on our backs. And we know that the state is going to be going through an economic tough time because every level of government is. And we can anticipate that some of those clawbacks that we've seen in the past, the passing down of the burden of expenses is going to happen again. And I'm not saying that we could stop it if we send Dustin to the State House to testify in a committee, but the fact that we're not is, I think, egregious. And so I think that would be a wonderful subcommittee to put together. I know you hate that I'm always suggesting subcommittees. I'd be glad to be on it because I have a lot of experience in that, but I'm sure other people here do as well. But I absolutely think we need to do that because, I mean, it's something we should have done 10 years ago. On the rest of it, I agree. We need to come up with we're at a fork in the road, and we need to decide as a body, are we going to try to come up with try again for a kind of revenue stream, or when are we going to start making hard decisions?
Well, I mean, this year is the hard decisions. You know, I mean, if the decision is to try again for revenue, maybe we could kick that can down the road one more year. But if it's not a true legitimate attempt at some kind of revenue solution, we need to start making cuts this year for the next budget, not like right now.
Ellie?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think we have to do both simultaneously because even if we go after revenue again, we may fail. So.
Any other questions? Mala?
I hate to say this, but if we're going to have to potentially make cuts, can you provide us with
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Well, how are we supposed to know what we should cut? Well, but how would you just randomly know what to cut if there's nothing that has a sheet of piece of paper that says we're going to cut this and look at all the departments and where we can actually cut things?
I think that's the thing is you need to decide, are you saying every department needs to cut X percentage and however they want to do that is that decision? Or are you saying that you as a board want to go through each department line by line? And, you know, I would not recommend that one. I would start with just a percentage to the departments and let them choose the best possible way for them to try to manage that situation.
Thank you. That's helpful.
So sort of to answer one method we could do. When I worked in McLean County, it was during the 2008, 2009 time when everything was terrible and everything was wrong. And they stopped all raises that were not union mandated, that weren't subject to collective bargaining. And they told every single department head, you need to cut whatever percent it was. I think in the PD's office, my boss had to cut like 1 to 5%, which sounds so easy, but when you're looking at the $300 for postage, like it really does come down to like you're asking each department head to, who are you firing? You're going to pick one. Who are you going to fire? Because you can't do it on, well, we just won't mail anything. Obviously, they have to still mail stuff, but it would be a decision that we make on a number and then seeking input. That's one way to do it, right? Like, and then seeking input from the department heads, and everybody, you know, put on your grown-up pants because you'll be. You're not here to be popular. We're not here to be popular. We're here to be good stewards. That was perfect phrasing, Mr. Clark. We are good stewards of the county, and it is the hard decisions we're going to have to make. Mr. Thorsland.
I know I haven't been on the board that long. I came here in 2018, but I was on the Zoning Board of Appeals as an appointed official for 10 years before that. And we went through this at that same time you talked about in McLean. And the approach was, they told all the department heads, it's your problem. Here's the percent we want to cut. And because P&Z was what I was dealing with, we showed up for one meeting and the person who took the notes wasn't there anymore. And someone else had to do it because they lost their job. And that's how it was approached. And it was not pleasant. It was not a great time. It was during that recession of 2008 and all of the politics that were running around about it. And so, not that I'm suggesting this is the way to do it, but you might want to talk to the people that were here then, department heads like John Hall, and see how they approached it then, what the numbers were like, and whether it helped. Obviously, it helped enough that we're still here as a functioning county, or reasonably functioning county. And but we have something to look at that's been done before, and maybe we want to find out whether it was the best way to do it, or if looking back, they think maybe there was a better way.
Jenny?
Mine is more of a line item question. So if you'd like to continue this discussion, I let them.
Speaking of, I mean, I think that's a good point, Jenny. Do we want to finish before we get to more broad level, what's next discussions? We still got some more presentations. As far as like
Probably a good idea. There's
Yeah.
just a few, and we can probably get through them pretty quickly and then have our more robust discussion. But if there's a line item question.
Yes. I was just curious, and I know you said in here that postage is the highest cost after staff. Why the large jump for 2026 on that. That's a pretty significant.
Because of the election cycle.
Okay.
So it's a midterm as opposed to
That
this
makes
year was a
sense.
consolidated.
Right. But I mean, for the 2024 actual, even it was still lower. That's why I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
So it is difficult to budget because
Yeah.
the VBM list can always grow. And so that fund pays for the letter that we're required to send before every
Right.
election. And then it pays for the postage to mail the ballot and the postage to return the ballot as well. So that is what we think would prevent us from not having enough money. And I would expect that some of that will get returned to the general fund. But the issue is that if we are looking at something like, I'll say a particularly motivational political climate that we're going into for 2026, we're probably going to have a significant spike in vote by mail sign up and expecting those costs to rise.
just a logistical question. Why would that fall under administrative services and not under the clerk and recorder's office?
Because all the postage for the whole
All
county
postage comes through. Okay.
Yeah, because we have the meter machine, and then the postage indicia that we have is registered to the county, so things like that.
Got it. Thank you.
Any further questions on this specific budget there? Okay, we can move along.
Next up's the county board. Revenues from this come from franchise fees and items like that. The main expenditures are the grant coordinator salary and items for 22 yahoos from the county. Anyone who doesn't understand, that's the board members. That's about it on the general fund side of it. It's usually pretty flat year over year. But there is a kind of subpart to that, which is Fund 2500, the grant fund. Kate is here today. She'll be able to talk about that a little bit better than me. I will point out, though, some of the number things. Just like RPC mentioned during their presentation, the fund balance for this runs negative. That's due to timing and doing services and asking for reimbursements later. Another thing is this slide, the projected column is different than what's in your binder. These grants affect like 3 or 4 different departments, and we were still working out projection numbers when these packets were printed. They've been updated since then in the system, and these slides use the updated numbers, but they weren't updated in time for the printout of the packet from last week. And now I'll turn it over to Kate.
Hi again. So you've heard a lot about these grants, I think, at this point already, but so I got a fund for grants, and right now we have 2 grants that are flowing through it. Hopefully that'll increase significantly, but I'm very proud of those 2. So we have, just quickly to say, for the firearm safe storage grant, as Clerk Gammon said earlier, my grants cross years as well. So it makes it a little bit difficult to predict what I'm going to get because I don't necessarily know even what funding opportunities are going to be available at that point. But for the firearm safe storage grant this year, we got a continuation. In that budget, we wrote in funding for 1,000 safes. In addition to what we did last year. So that means a lot more will be getting out into the community. But in addition to these grant-specific tasks, I am working on a grant manual that I thought would be finished about 2 months into my job, but I keep learning more and more and more every day, so the manual keeps growing. But that's good. I want to get it to a point where anyone could pick it up and just kind of slip into managing grants for the county. So, and then I'm also working a lot with the finance specialist in our office on processes in Munis to make everything a little bit smoother and better. Right now, there are some things that RPC is using for their budgeting that it works really well with grants. I don't have that in place yet, but we're going to get there. So, yeah, I think that's kind of my update.
Any questions about the grant fund? Thanks, Kate.
Next up is the general fund debt service. This is the money from sales tax that we set aside to pay the one bond that's paid out of the general fund. This $1.4 million is part of the restricted fund balance. So it does not get included in those percentage calculation ratios that you always hear me mention. But it's just the money set aside from the sales tax and then paid out to the bonds for principal and interest. Next up is the general county fund. This fund is the fund where we record revenue and expenditures for countywide items. The revenue, the income tax revenue we get, the sales tax revenue we get, property tax revenue. And then on the expenditure side, the largest expenditure there is the health insurance that gets paid out from the general fund on behalf of the employees. That's about all that goes in there. And then lastly is ARPA.
Travis, real fast, before you move on, I have a question about the employee life and health, the health insurance. What number or what percentage did you use to estimate the number this year? Because I know that we don't know yet, but we had a very terrible quote. Like, is the number that's here worst case scenario, or is the number that's here, it could be worse yet?
This number is hopefully worst case scenario. Michelle, can I give the percentage, or with negotiation, should I not? I mean, okay. This number here is, I mean, anyone could back calculate too, so it's not difficult, but 40% increase. So hopefully it won't be that high, but it's going to be extremely high. So
just the increase from last year is more than an entire year of payment for the Bennett Administrative Center. Like, it's horrible, but it's not in anyone's control here.
Yeah. So, and then again, lastly is ARPA, the American Rescue Plan. Everything has to be spent out by in 26. So I got Kathy's latest projections of what she's expecting to pay out in 25, and basically just budgeted everything else remaining in 26. That'll change a little bit because interest, is just an estimate. So we'll get a little bit more interest. So there may be more up or down on that, but the goal is to spend it all out by the end of 26.
Any questions specific to Travis on this one? All right, well, it says adjournment, but we're going to talk first. We're going to have a family discussion, all of us. Who wants to kick it off? Jenny.
I'm embarrassed. Like, this is dire. We're doing things like holding GoFundMes for animal control already at this point. I don't know what the solution is, though. I'm just willing to listen and wanted to throw that out there. Like, we should not be holding GoFundMes as a county.
So I guess to give some guidance to our discussion, we've heard, well, we received a packet of many specific requests for increased appropriations. Of all of those, I know Stephanie is of the mindset where we have to say no to everyone. I think that we should say yes to the PREA counselor, since that can be, or the PREA coordinator, since that can be fully reimbursed. I would want us to maybe do that. Based on what Shannon said yesterday, where she's already been told that it can be 100% reimbursed. But of all of the requests that we got at the front of our packet, does anybody have thoughts? Should we go through them one by one, or do we just go with blanket no unless somebody says, hey, what about this one? Jenny?
I feel like I should be a blanket no, but I want to talk about the autopsy assistant because I feel like that could lead to revenue for the county if we can't attract a I can't think of the word for the person.
Forensic pathologist.
Forensic pathologist. Thank you. If we cannot attract a forensic pathologist without an autopsy assistant, that's a very catch-22 situation. And if we have this position in place and that allows us to get a pathologist in place, and then we are able to provide autopsy services for other counties, that it's like a maybe there will be revenue, but I would like to talk about it as that is a possibility.
So I think it might just be, okay, Stephanie. Okay, I was just saying, it might just be easier for us to just go through all of these line by line, just to, if there's anybody that says, yes, let's talk about them more, but otherwise we'll just get blanket no's on them. So autopsy assistant, we have Jenny requesting we talk about that one. Additional deputy coroners, we got a request for several. Anybody want to?
Just for one at least, yes.
Okay, Brett wants to talk about that. Deputy sheriff, either increasing the overtime line item or increasing the number of sheriff deputies.
No, I just have a question. I want to make sure we're not running afoul of the Open Meetings Act.
Yeah.
The way we're directing
okay.
this, it sounds like we're making decisions.
Well, we've done this in the years past where we talk,
We've directed staff to give us more information or include it. So
this is just to discuss.
I think using the term no is a problem.
Okay, so.
Because that's making a decision. Okay, that's all.
Fair point, fair point. Who would like to have discussions on? Okay. I see a hand raised. We're going to go to Emily. What was your thought, Emily?
I think it might be helpful to think about how we began the ARPA discussion on priorities. We held small meetings among the caucus that didn't break or, any Open Meetings Act issues. We also set priorities, we ranked, and then we got together when we had a discussion. I don't think that we've had something like that on the budget as long as I've been on this board. But if we are thinking about having a actual conversation about how to resolve the revenue issue and make cuts, I think that might be a good place to start. I also just wanted to ask a more general question. Like, are we the only county in Illinois dealing with this? Like, do we have any counterpoints on how other budget processes are going? I don't know if Travis is the person to ask.
I don't right now, but I can dig into it.
Do we think that'd be a good use of Travis's time? I mean, we can shoot it down if we don't. I don't want to.
Is there anybody you could delegate that to?
Potentially. I'd have to think about it. And
a lot has been put on Travis's plate.
So maybe we come back to that idea, I guess. I don't want to just put something on your plate off the cuff.
I feel like we as board members can take some of that on. I mean, I'm happy to reach out to board counterparts in other counties to see what's going on at that level.
Michelle?
I just want to add that if anyone's planning to do that, if they're not PTEL, it doesn't matter. It is useless information. Do not bother getting it. It has no bearing on what we're dealing with.
I've seen a list of PTEL counties that I can probably pull out and send to folks to help avoid that.
Brett?
I'm sorry, it's probably goes to Mr. what Farney said, but can we maybe wait a little bit to say we're going to yes, no on all these and stuff like that? Give time to think about it.
I agree. We're not saying yes or no to any of them right now. The way it's worked in the past for our new board members, Brett, you're not new, but we have several who are brand new. After we hear all of these, we have a discussion where we give some next steps to add in some direction. to admin on what we would like to see or what we'd like them to present to us in September at the special budget hearing, whatever day that is in September 26th, maybe, whatever day that is. But I know, Stephanie, you have usually run this portion of these when you were finance chair, so you might have more recollection than I do.
No, I think it's an appropriate time to do it. I think alternatively, we can carve out time at the cow and have everybody, and I would encourage folks to heed what the deputy administrator said. Regardless if we go after additional revenue, it will not be here in 2026. So the landscape that we're under is the landscape that we're under. So if folks want a little bit of time and we want to make sure that we're on the right side of Open Meetings Act, alternatively, that's something that we could do. And I will say the last couple of years, we've given dire warnings and then still at the meeting had like 37 things that board members wanted to consider. And I felt like I was like in a alternative dimension. But I do think this, when you put something on as, hey, let's consider it, you are giving that elected official or department head hope that that's going to happen, and their staff hope that that's going to happen. So if you are going to put something on, like, I want to consider it, you best come prepared to fight for that, or do not waste our time.
Ellie?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of second maybe we should take some time at the cow so that people have a couple weeks here to kind of digest all of the information that we've heard in the last 3 days. And we can get that on the agenda for then. I'm not saying we need to stop discussing things right now, but I think that timeline would be.
I think the mood of the room is also that we could take time to think it over and individually reach out to admin if there's things that you have further questions, if there's something that you absolutely do want to know more about, or you do want to come and fight for, just so there's some idea. But yeah, I think as an agenda item at Cal is a great idea. Mr. Farney?
The other thing that I think we can do while we're taking our time to look at these things is go through the details on here. And if there's something, I'm just going to use for an example, the PREA position. Yes, the salary is 100% funded, but the fringes are not. So if you want to argue for that, and that's about, I think it was about $23,000 for that, find $23,000 in here that you think should not be a priority. Okay, this board has the ability to do that, even though we've been presented budgets by department heads and elected officials. We have the authority to prioritize it. So if there's something in here that you think, okay, we can get by with a little bit less here to make this happen, that's the best way to argue for it.
Ellie?
Yeah, to add on to that, right, we're not just thinking about potential new asks. We can also think about cuts.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm also a proponent of talking about this more at the cow, partially because of what John brought up. You know, we can't, just the fact that we would say tonight, oh, well, we want to talk about that one later and not that one, is already sort of giving a tell on a decision. The deputy administrator said something that I think we ought to think about. What I'd like to see in the cow is it's an agenda item so that we can talk about it. Is also the revenue side. I know we've talked about it before, potential ways to have revenue. I'd like to see a couple just short items. One, the best case scenario, what would be the most possible revenue we think, changes that may or may not be able to be implemented give us. And then I think we all need to think about really hard about what we can fund here and understand that that revenue enhancement could be zero. And then we might have to, I'm going to talk to John Hall about, how he approached 2008, 9, whatever it was. And I would suggest talking to other people that were department heads back then. I don't know how many there were. And think about what that number is. If we're going to just tell everybody, okay, across the board, you have to cut X. And if it means that you're picking up paper clips while you're at Costco and put them in your pocket because you don't have a budget for them anymore, okay. Are we printing on both sides of the paper? Stuff like that. It got to that, especially I know in particular in P&Z because it's a paper intensive thing and you make these big packets, and it got to where we weren't doing anything in color and it was really silly. But we have to think about that. So I'd love to see just like a real brief, this is potential revenue streams and what best case and worst case would be. And this is what, if we added up all these asks, what percentage do we have to cut somewhere else? So we need to all think about that. We sat here for 3 nights and heard everybody tell us only what they need and nobody tell us what they don't need. So we have to think about what we really need. It'd be great to have all the things that we want. It would be great to have, a higher level of government functioning a little more better. But that's not going to happen. So we have to think about what we have to do to make this county function.
Brett?
Yeah, can we get a list like last year what I asked for, kind of a spreadsheet or whatever, all the different asks and their costs?
We all received the same thing. You can absolutely compile a list yourself out of what was there.
Okay,
I think,
sorry. Didn't know it's too much
no,
of an
I'm just
ask.
saying, yeah. We all have the same information right here. You could very easily write down or type into a spreadsheet. Is overworked. If we ask them to do this, there's other things that they're not able to do. Any other? All right, great. We call this meeting adjourned at 8:01.